If a paper crane can fly, then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on.
Me and the scratching.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, people.
Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. It is Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. James, how you doing this morning, man?
Doing pretty good, brother Ben. I was about to call you Rebecca. I'm doing
Rebecca
good, brother Ben.
Rebecca will be joining us in the next segment. So let's get started, because there's a lot of news that we have to keep up with and cover.
Yeah.
I want to start with COVID-19. Obviously, we hope that we are coming to the end of the pandemic sometime in the near future. But coming to an end of the pandemic not only requires the vaccination here of every U.S. citizen, it is also going to require the vaccination of billions of people across the globe. And to that end, in a recent interview with Sky News, a British media company that is under the division of Comcast, billionaire Bill Gates was asked about whether loosening intellectual property rules on vaccines manufactured by Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna, and others would be a positive step in the global battle against COVID-19. In response, Bill Gates says no, citing safety concerns. Let's take a look.
And in terms of that, there's been some speculation that the changing intellectual property rules and allowing these vaccines, as you say, the recipe for these vaccines to be shared would be helpful. And do you think that would be helpful?
No.
Why not?
Well, there's only so many vaccine factories in the world, and people are very serious about the safety of vaccines. And so moving something that had never been done, moving a vaccine from, say, a J&J factory into a factory in India, that it's novel. It's only because of our grants and our expertise that can happen at all. The thing that's holding things back in this case is not intellectual property. There's not like some idle vaccine factory with regulatory approval that makes magically safe vaccines. You've got to do the trials on these things, and every manufacturing process has to be looked at in a very careful way. There's all sorts of issues around intellectual property having to do with medicines, but not in terms of how quickly we've been able to ramp up the volume here.
So basically, he's saying that it's impossible for governments around the world to create safe factories, and only with the oversight of the pandemic of the pharmaceutical companies are credited with the vaccines will factories set up overseas succeed, like the case he mentioned in India. This is paternalistic at best, but also deceptive and highly deceptive, and it puts the interest of pharmaceutical companies before the interest of humanity in general. And he's guising it underneath the idea that other nations are not technologically savvy enough to actually pull off the vaccine if they were able to get the intellectual property rights. But it's actually true that countries like South Africa and Namibia, who have complained about what they called a global vaccine apartheid, would be incapable of producing these vaccines safely in domestic factories. It's not the case. That doesn't make sense, and seems to rely on racist notions that Western paternalism of Western paternalism over the global South. So James, here's where we are. We are in a situation here in the country where we have exceeded expectations in the number of Americans that are vaccinated, and we expect probably by the end of this year to have all of the American adults who are willing to be vaccinated, having them vaccinated. But now we have in India the outbreak so big that they're having to do makeshift crematoriums. They're burning bodies on the side of the road. And the number of people who are infected in India really impacts whether or not this pandemic comes to an end. It's true across the globe. Any nation in the global south with a sizable population has the ability to mutate this virus to the extent to where it's very possible that this virus can mutate to the extent where our current vaccines will not protect us from what evolves in other nations. And so while he's doing this game of, well, I don't know if these countries can manufacture the vaccine safely, they're actually putting everybody on this planet at risk of a variant that is far more deadly and a variant that these current vaccines do not cover. So I just feel like, I mean, and just looking at him and listening to him talk sound so confident about this. At the same time, there is a money interest behind every word that he's saying, right? I mean, We're talking about billions of dollars that these vaccine companies are making as a result of this pandemic and as a result of holding so tightly to these intellectual property rights. So anyway, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Bill Gates just needs to shut the hell up. That's all it is. But it is to me. It's all a power grab, man. It's a money thing, and that's my thing. Is why is there so much hesitancy to let these people make this vaccine? If you know that these companies are not keeping up with the demand and they can't pull off the supply or the demand like it needs to be pulled off, then let them start making it. Because right now these other countries are really suffering. And Ben, you're right. If they don't, that will be a determining factor on how quickly we get out of this pandemic. Yeah. Because it's just not us. It's just not those countries. It's everybody globally. Right. So if that's not fixed, then we're never going to get out of this. Right. And I mean, for a long time.
Because the virus did not originate in the United States. And so as soon as we open up completely again and people get back to normal traveling, then it's very possible that a variant of COVID-19 that we could have prevented if we allow the generic manufacturing of these vaccines to take place in the global south, it is very possible that a variant will come right back to us and we'll be in this all over again. And honestly, the way we dealt with COVID-19 the first time around, it just suggests to me that we're just completely and wholly unprepared to do anything more than suffer the repercussions of another virus, of another pandemic that we're not prepared for because of the level of absurdity. I can't get it out this morning. Absurdity of us not, first of all, hoarding the vaccines that are manufactured here in the United States. Right. That's number one. We have been hoarding them, and we have an update on that with Joe Biden. But the fact that we're hoarding them and we're not allowing the generic manufacturing of these vaccines suggests that we really are putting profit. Not suggest. It's a clear example of us putting profit over the people. An update in terms of how the United States is faring in this conversation. The U.S. will begin sharing its entire stock of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines with the world once it clears federal safety review. The White House said this yesterday, with up to 60 million doses expected to be exported in the coming months. The move on the Biden administration's actions last month to share. It expands on his move to share about 4 million doses of the vaccine with Mexico and Canada. The AstraZeneca vaccine is mainly used around the world, but has yet to be authorized by the FDA. So far, we know that this is not a part of any global anti-COVID strategy. Instead, it's the United States doing a favor for its geographic neighbors, with which the U.S. does a large amount of cross-border trade and travel. So it's not as though these 60 million doses, which is it is a step up. It is clearly a step up. Great. Right. But it's not the step that we need. It's not the full step. And to give Joe Biden credit, which we don't do often here, it is a step up in the direction of the criticisms that he received, right? There's a lot of pressure being placed on the Biden administration to end this vaccine apartheid that is taking place across the globe. And this is a step in the right direction. But we absolutely need to see us go one step further, because this is insufficient in terms of the global population that actually needs to get vaccinated, particularly in the global south, because of how poor those nations are. which are poor as a result of imperialism and capitalism globally. So we have a problem on our hands. This is a move in the right direction of the Biden administration, but again, it is with Canada and Mexico. It's not going to the places that absolutely have been ravaged. Right. And the conversation again about what's happening in India is so important here, because with a population of 1 billion people, I mean, we really are talking about the ability for that virus to mutate in ways that we will not be able to get control over if we absolutely do not get as many people vaccinated by any means possible. And we're also faced with a very large amount of disinformation and misinformation as it pertains to the vaccine, even here in the United States. And so while we must continue to advocate for the United States to be a leader in global vaccinations, we still have to address what's happening here domestically, because we have so many media outlets. We have so many voices that are on television, like Tucker Carlson and Fox News, who are downplaying not only the vaccinations, but downplaying something simple as wearing a mask. And with this level of disinformation and misinformation and propaganda that's going across the airwaves every single day to millions of people, we're not only going to be challenged with getting vaccinations globally, but we also are just challenged here in the United States because of the number of people who have politicized the coronavirus since day one. They politicized wearing masks, and now they are politicizing getting vaccines. So anyway, we have a lot more Like It or Not coming up. James, why don't you take us to a break? When we come back, we want to talk about Andrew Brown, the video that was released yesterday and seen by his family and his lawyers, who say that it shows a clear execution. We'll discuss that when we come back after this.
Thinking about the day that we met.
Good morning again, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. Make sure that you stay tuned. Hit that like, comment, share, subscribe button so you know when Like It or Not is going down. And while we're on this first break, we're going to get these first patrons read. So give me a second here. Let's get our stuff together. Let me find some good music and get this together. Let's do joyful noise. We want to do joyful noise. There we go. It's time for the new patrons, everybody. Welcome. I'll make sure that y'all drop the lions in the chat. Make sure you drop the crowns in the chat as well, too, for our new patrons. So here we go. New patrons for yesterday. We have Mia T. We have Denise, who is a longtime patron who increased her pledge. Thank you so much, Denise. We have Capri E, Patty H, Stanley C, Lee F, BW, Sherry M, and Dan T. And our new Twitch subscribers, we have Riches558, who subscribed for 5 months. Welcome everybody again to the Like It or Not family. Welcome to the pod, y'all. Make sure that y'all drop those lion heads in the chat for everybody, y'all. Welcome again. We're going to get into some of this good music. One of my favorite songs, y'all. Here we go. It's called Recoup.
Don't waste my energy.
Oh, that's not what Rewind. Good morning, mama. Good morning, sensation. Hope y'all having a beautiful morning, y'all. Good morning, everybody in the chat, y'all. Melanie, good morning.
Tell them I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown. Sorry to tell you, I know my value.
Martha, good morning, Martha. Alicia, good morning, Brother Lateef. Melody, what's going on, y'all? Good morning.
I don't got much, don't be wasting all my energy. I keep it tight, don't let nobody get close to me.
Right.
My heart is right, don't question my integrity.
Shout out Chuck Diesel, good morning, brother.
You would be just fine.
Don't break none this morning. Remember, always remember, Like It or Not is not responsible for any broken lamps, dishes, fixtures, or anything else in your household that you may incur while DJ Bubba is spinning. Thank you, management. Like It or Not. Lisa Noel, good morning. Y'all welcome back to the screen. Benjamin Dixon, y'all.
Hey. Welcome back, everybody. All right. It seems like every week, James, we have 2 or 3 police shootings to discuss, to the point it's almost hard to keep up with them in the news cycles. But yesterday, the lawyer for the family of Andrew Brown Jr. spoke out after seeing body cam footage of Brown's killing. For those that don't know, Andrew Brown was a 42-year-old black man in North Carolina and was shot by a local sheriff's department on April 21st. The county sheriff's office says deputies had a search warrant that they served Brown when he was shot at his home in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. A first responder can be heard on audio recording saying, "Be advised, EMS has one male, 42 years of age, gunshot to the back." North Carolina law requires that under most circumstances, a judge must sign off on the order for body cam footage to be released. The county sheriff, Tommy Wooten, said that he will ask a judge to allow the release once the State Bureau of Investigation confirms that it will not undermine their investigation. Bakari Sellers, the family's attorney and CNN contributor, said that the footage began with deputies firing at Brown, who had his hand on the steering wheel of his vehicle while being shot at in his own driveway. The attorney said that the 20 seconds of the footage the family was allowed to see basically showed an execution. Another family attorney said that later, after being shot in that driveway, Brown drove away from the deputies as they continued to shoot. According to Cherry Lassiter Brown, the attorney, he said that Brown did not present a threat as he drove away, yet they continued to shoot even after the vehicle crashed, leaving it riddled with bullets. After being shown the video of the incident, Bakari Sellers and the family spoke to reporters. Here's Sellers giving out the numbers of 2 senators, telling everyone to call them and to say that we are tired of seeing black folks dying. Let's take a look at that clip.
To know what they trying to hide from all of y'all, because the truth can't hide forever and a lie cannot live forever.
I gave y'all an assignment, so I wanted to follow through. I need everybody to take their phones out. I know y'all filming, but take it out. We're going to do something good. I got Joe Manchin's number right here. It's 202-224-3954. 202-224-3954. Call his office and tell him we tired of black folk dying. And then Kirsten Sinema's number is 202.
Say the number one more time for Joe Manchin.
202-224-3954. And Kirsten Sinema is 202-224-4521. And just call the office and tell them how you feel. Let me turn it over to Harry.
Now, here's a second clip of Bakari Sellers explaining how he was treated by the local police department while being shown the video of the shooting. Now, warning, he does not edit what was said to him from the police department. But once you hear what was said, I think it really contextualizes the mindset that these police departments have, even after they have killed one of our own. Take a look.
We went back and forth, and I just want you to say I've never been talked to like I was talked to in there. I don't know his name, but
Mike Cox. This is
I went to the back, and I know that we're live on the news around the world, so I will say that Mr. Cox told me, a grown black man, that he was not fucking going to be bullied.
Wow. He's not going to effing be bullied. He's not. In the pursuit of justice, the police department said to the family's attorneys that they're not going to be bullied. They don't mind doing the execution, but they just don't want to be bullied. So much more to cover on this. James and Rebecca, they're here with us. I want us to discuss this because there's movement not only in this case, but also in the case of Breonna Taylor. But it's just, I mean, there's just so many police shootings. It's hard to keep up with how many people the cops are killing.
It seems like 2 a week. Like, it's getting to the point now we got to think about, okay, what 2 is it going to be this week? Like this makes absolutely no sense at all, y'all.
None.
Yeah, and I think I don't know what to think. It's like we have our activists and we have people coming out there to fight and to speak on behalf of, and it's crazy because it's happening and it's been happening in every town, but now when is it going to circle back around to Georgia? Has it already happened this week and we missed it? You know what I mean? And it's like everybody is having to stand up in their city, which is great, though. I'm happy to see Bakari Sellers being a spokesperson for people who may be forgotten if it wasn't for the movements that have been happening over the past years. And the George Floyd movement showing us that, listen, if you're in a city where you know somebody has gotten gunned down by a police officer for no reason, or it was just overuse of force, and we know that it has to do with the person being Black or minority, make sure we're the people that go out. Mind you, we're just another person that could possibly be a victim of a police attack, a police murder. We could possibly be the victims, but we're not even trained for this yet. It's like we're going through the process and becoming the spokesperson, the activist out there protesting, literally shifting our whole lives so that another generation or another person can live to see literally the next 5 minutes. Literally. So I think the feels that I have for this is just like, we have to become things and people and protection at such a young age, or even in our older age when we think, okay, it's time to retire. You can't retire because you don't know what's going to happen. So now people are in wheelchairs outside fighting for folks. We got kids who started out when they were like 5, 16, 10, and now they're like 25 or, and still fighting the same fight. I saw a girl, and I know this may not have anything to do. Well, it does, police murders, because in the protesting, police were abusing people and hurting folks, especially the activists. But in the Flint, Michigan situation with the water crisis there, and there was a little girl who was like a baby girl at the time, posted up, her throwback of her saying that, with the date of the water crisis. Circle back, we're almost, 10 years after that, and she did like a replay of that particular moment, and the water crisis is still a thing. So it's like the same thing with the police officers. I know the guy that we had on the show, I forget his name, the young one that we had on the show, that when he started protesting, he was a little thing. He was a little teenager, and he's still fighting the same thing to this day for the same thing. So it's just like, it's crazy how now, if anything were to happen, say where you are, Ben, you know that you would have to be at the forefront of whatever it is to make sure that family or that family or that person has a voice and not just a lost hashtag. Because hashtags was good in the beginning, but it ain't enough now because police officers are combating that and making new ways to stop this movement or to stop us from actually highlighting these murders. So it's a lot of feels that I have, and it's happening every day. It's happening every minute. We can't even keep up. We can't even keep up. I would love to speak on every single person, but it is hard, Ben. It's hard.
It's hard to keep up with the names, and it's hard to even recall all of them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people have been fighting for so long, and the entire experience of Black people in this country has been one of fighting for either our freedom or our lives, both at the same time. And it's a continuous battle that never ends because this country has shown us that they have a vested interest in protecting the very system that kills us. They will always put more emphasis on giving white conservatives, white men in particular, white Christian men, even more specifically, white straight Christian men, to be the most precise, And then if I would make it even more precise, it ain't y'all poor white folks that they're actually protecting. They're protecting the white, Christian, straight, rich men, the wealthiest. And because they are so, the government, these institutions, our politicians, the wealthiest, the capitalists, because they are all so committed to protecting that system, they have chosen throughout this entire country's history to sacrifice everybody else. They don't give a damn who that is. They have sacrificed black lives on the altar of capitalism in the form of slavery. We built this damn country. They massacred us. They continue to do that through Jim Crow, through the civil rights movement, all the way to this day. And the police state, they absolutely are never going to do anything willingly to prevent this police state from killing us, because they need the police state to continue to protect all of their assets, all of their property, all of their money, all their wealth, because they know at the end of the day that it's not about the fact that they just hate us because we're black. It's about the fact that they hate us because our existence is a threat to everything that they believe in, because it was built by us, right? They are threatened by blackness because this country was built on blackness by black people. That's why we're still fighting to this day, because they can never afford for the truth to be told about this country, which is this country not only is responsible for slavery, Jim Crow, and segregation. They are culpable, and they owe us reparations. They owe us economic power. They owe us political power, and they will never just relinquish that amount of power, because that's how they got everything they have. And so it's us versus them, and they have chosen to make it that way, and it's going to continue to be that way. And as a result of that, we see every single day, every day in this country, the police are killing somebody. They are so committed to this that they're willing, white Christian men, rich white Christian men are so committed to this that they're willing to sacrifice. They don't care how many white folks police kill. They'll never talk about it. They don't really care about it. You'll never see them out there. You think there'll ever be a day that you see white folks out there protesting for a white person who's been killed by police officers? No, you'll never see it, because they want to protect the system. So.
Yeah, I mean, look what happened. They try to argue that. They try to make that same argument with us. Like we need to be out there protesting for the young woman who was, shot at the Capitol. And they're like, why aren't you guys saying her name? Why y'all not saying her name? Let me tell you something. Right. We have, and I'm not saying, y'all won't go and attack and go after the system. We have been literal targets of the system since it was created. Okay? So right now, I'm sorry, but we're going to worry about us. Now, anybody that's included into the police shootings and murders, we're going to make sure we include them black, white, purple, green. But when we say Black Lives Matter, there's a reason why we say that. We are the only ones fighting for us. And then everybody else started to get included and say, you know what? Black lives do matter. Those, and other races who really saw the issue included themselves inside the movement and understood that Black lives do matter. It doesn't mean that everybody else doesn't. But if you were so hell-bent, like we are, on getting this system abolished and reformed, then you would understand. You would know that if police abuse, police murders were such a thing for you, and the person that was killed happened to be white, and I'm talking for the white folks that be trying to challenge us on this, then you guys would do the same. You would understand that this is more than just that. But for black folks, we have a different situation, because this has been since the beginning of time. Whew. There is a whole, the numbers show that black folks could walk outside and just walk outside and get shot. White folks could walk outside wielding a knife, be able to cross the street, be able to go to somebody's house with police standing right outside, be able to kill somebody, be taken to Burger King, and then go to jail. So
not us.
Not us. So when we fight, there's a reason why we're doing this, because we want to be included in that number. And
I'm thinking, I'm gonna interject because you're mentioning the knife, and that brings up Ma'Khia Bryant in my mind. And I was watching the clip of the Breakfast Club yesterday with Charlemagne, and he had on Dr. Umar Johnson, who every now and then Umar says something good.
Right.
I'm not gonna get
even with his fervor, even with his aggression.
Yeah, every now and then he says something good. But on the opposite side of that equation was DJ Envy, who they were talking about Ma'Khia Bryant, and he was like, "Yeah, nah, man, I just don't agree that girl should have been taken alive." Basically, is the essentially what he was saying, because Umar was pointing that out. He was like, a sister with a knife. You know what I mean? Gets taken out. Exactly what you were saying, Rebecca. While gunmen get taken alive, and you have black people who are still on that other side of the equation who are like, oh yeah, but she had a knife. DJ Envy being one of them. And I'm like, we are so conditioned in this country, even as black folks, to adopt the white supremacist rhetoric and the framing, right? Just the complete.
He literally he said that, because I didn't watch the whole thing. Yeah. So you're telling me that DJ Envy and Charlemagne, or was it?
No, it was DJ Envy, and DJ Envy said, "Well, I guess I just got to be a coon then, because I don't agree with you, Umar." Wow. And I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, you didn't have to call yourself a coon trending for us to have known." Oh, wow. Is he trending?
He's trending on Twitter right now too. I didn't even look at it, but that makes sense now.
Yes,
it's like, bro, like he is representative of that same system, that same mindset. Because somebody posted a video the other day of a white guy stabbing a black police officer in the neck. Yep. And that police officer never shot a single bullet. And if we can't see the difference, and we got so many people, there's still a lot of people on that side. If we cannot see the difference between how police officers treat black people, to the extent where they are willing to execute, just so many names. Like execute Andrew Brown, they executed Ma'Khia Bryant, they executed Tamir Rice. Just go down the list of people who did. Michael Slager, who is the officer who killed Walter Scott. They executed Walter Scott and try to cover it up. And it's hard to keep up with these names because it's happening. They executed Breonna Taylor in her sleep. And if you can't see the absolute difference between how policing agencies treat black lives as opposed to white lives, you don't want to see it because you want to protect the system. That's it. Or you are brainwashed, and I didn't call him this, he called himself this, but a coon like DJ Envy.
Yep. And it's funny because you said that they try to cover it up. These officers, their departments, our leaders who are in those cities where the departments are will assist in covering these things up until it just trickles out. And then it's like, oh, this murder that happened in 2019. And it's like, excuse me? Now you guys want to bring out the footage of what happened. And that's why I love that Tiger from from the show, he, from the audience, he said they walked up, for the shooting that with the shooting that we were discussing yesterday. He's in Virginia. He said they walked up, they demanded that they show the footage now. Before it can be doctored, before anything, they show the footage now. Because these people will sit on this footage and think that it could go away, make up things. And, it's like all of this stuff we have to fight against, not only knowing that, okay, somebody's going to be murdered. How are the police officers going to cover it up? How long will this be covered up for? The police officer that did it will still be on the streets, y'all. Still on these streets. It's like we have so much to fight. It's not just that one thing. We got to keep on literally going in and being like, okay, well, where's the footage? And where's the police officer? And he needs to resign. Now we got to take it to court. Now we got to give it this. Now we got to give it that. It's so much that goes into all of that. And it's like, geez, and there's not somebody, I hate to say it, but somebody may get shot while we're on the show right now. It's just like, and it may be covered up, and we may not hear about it for another week, a month. It's so much. It's like, this is very overwhelming, but at the same time, it's like,
it really
I would rather us, whenever we get a name, be sure to drop it, because I don't want these people to be forgotten. I don't want these people to be forgotten. Just like and I'm so grateful for our leaders here in Georgia, who, even though this hasn't gotten national attention, but Zadok that we spoke about, Renita Shannon has been on that and treating it like this is a local issue. This is a Black people's issue. This is a police issue. We're going to be talking about it here in the state of Georgia. So she's making sure that she uses her platform to keep that going. So that's why I say, for any city that you guys are in, like sometimes we got to step up to the plate and be the leaders because they ain't doing what they're supposed to do when it comes to these kind of things. And when we're pushing, and they think that because we're asking for abolition of the system right now, when it comes to policing, that we're asking for something that is so ridiculous. And let it be radical. I mean, if that's what you guys want to frame it as, let it be radical. But I don't see how us wanting to live our life, wanting to live to see another day, wanting to produce kids who could live to see another day, like, how is that radical? How?
It's radical because it's a direct threat to what they cherish the most, which is life as it used to be. Right. They can't imagine Black people actually having the equal amount of power. Like they can't imagine all people having the equal amount of power as they have. They would rather kill themselves than to see a world where people have the same amount of power that they have. And you were talking about, like, you were speaking of cover-ups. The Justice Department is opening a sweeping probe into the policing in Louisville, Kentucky over the March 2020 murder of Breonna Taylor. I want us to take a listen in to Attorney General Merrick Garland as he made that announcement yesterday.
Today, the Justice Department is opening a civil investigation into the Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government and the Louisville Metro Police Department to determine whether LMPD engages in a pattern or practice of violations of the Constitution or federal law. Today's announcement is based on an extensive review of publicly available information about LMPD conducted by the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. The investigation will assess whether LMPD engages in a pattern or practice of using unreasonable force, including with respect to people involved in peaceful expression.
So they're going to open an investigation, and like they did with Ferguson, it revealed the investigation in Ferguson in the aftermath of Michael Brown being killed, revealed just how deeply rooted the racism and systemic racism in Ferguson was. I have a feeling they're going to find out the same exact thing in Louisville. And I hope that they don't stop in Louisville. They need to go after Daniel Cameron, who actively participated in covering all this up.
Oh, look, I was playing the next clip. I was like, okay, yes, Daniel Cameron definitely needs to get got. And we almost forgot about Daniel Cameron. I bet y'all did. But Daniel Cameron is somebody that definitely is a representative that needs to pay and we need to keep on his neck. Like they need to be going to his home like they were before. Like we need to not let up, just like we did with George Floyd. I don't want Breonna Taylor to just slide by. I want for our Black women who are too being murdered by cops, to get this, to continue to get the same thing. I want for this woman to get justice. I want for her life to have mattered as well. So Daniel Cameron, who does not care for us, we would think, right, that Black representation matters. Yeah. Sometimes it don't, y'all. Sometimes they really be taking these seats and can't wait to delve into that white supremacy type of lifestyle. They can't wait. Right. They will literally forget about everything, where they came from, when he goes to another state and they don't know that he's Daniel Cameron, that he too will just be another Black man capable of being shot down by a police officer.
He'll be shot down by his own police department, right? It's like catch him on the right night. Right side of town, his Black ass will get popped just like anybody else, and he'll be sitting there like, oh, but all lives matter.
Yeah. Yes, he would. He would definitely use all lives matter. You're so right.
Right.
Clown. I want to take a second, because in the Breonna Taylor case, this is an interview back from October of last year, 2020, but it really shows the extent to which this was covered up by Daniel Cameron. And I'm hoping that these are some of the things that the Department of Justice will get to. But in this first clip, two of the jurors who were on the grand jury, they described how the proceedings were carried out and the reaction by nearly everyone in the room. Let's take a listen to this first clip.
They didn't give us the charges up front when they gave us all of that testimony over 20-something hours, and then to say that these are the only charges that they're coming up with. It's like, what did we just sit through? And then to be told that we're not charging them with anything else, to me, it was a betrayal.
So when you all look, juror 1 and 2, and you're told that the only thing you need to consider right now is wanton endangerment, did anyone say, hey, are there any other options here? Did either of you say that?
Almost the entire room.
What was the answer that you were given?
Basically, in a nutshell, they said there were other possible charges that we considered, but nothing that we could make stick.
They never gave us the opportunity to deliberate on anything but the charges for Hinkelson. That was it. As a matter of fact, when they announced that those were the only charges, it was an uproar in that room. There was several more charges that could have gone forward on all of those officers, or at least the 3 shooters.
This is the part of the investigation that was covered up by Daniel Cameron. Now, we spoke about this at the time, but we didn't have these clips. And now that the Attorney General Merrick Garland is investigating the Louisville Police Department, he absolutely needs to extend it to Daniel Cameron, because he actively made sure that the jurors did not even have the options that were at their disposal. Now, in this next clip, the attorney for both jurors, Kevin Glogowauer, no, I massacred that name, but he explains how the handling of the grand jury was absolutely different from most others. Take a listen in.
Why is this so extraordinary, Kevin?
Normally, the grand jurors are presented with the law and the charges so that they can listen to the facts with an open mind and apply those facts to the law, almost as a roadmap.
What happened here?
What happened here was it was done in the complete reverse.
What stands out to you the most?
From a legal perspective, it looked like they weren't following the grand jurors, and they only wanted the grand jurors to follow them, which is contrary to the actual rule.
Now, this next clip, both of the jurors that you see in that interview, they explain why Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron compelled them, why what he did compelled them to speak out. Take a listen.
What prompted them to ultimately speak out was that press conference held by Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron, which they insist falsely represented their position on potential indictments for the officers involved in Breonna Taylor's death.
While there are 6 possible homicide charges under Kentucky law, these charges are not applicable to the facts before us, because our investigation showed, and the grand jury agreed, that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the return of deadly fire.
When he stated that there were 6 possible murder charges and that the grand jury had agreed that those didn't apply, the first time I heard the word 6 possible murder charges was in that news conference.
It wasn't presented to you in the grand jury deliberations?
No. And personally, when I do something, I take responsibility for it. We had not done that.
I really felt that this was all Cameron. This was up to him. We didn't get a choice in that at all. So I was livid. By the time I heard what he was saying, everything that came out of his mouth, I was saying liar, because we didn't agree to anything. We never met Cameron.
You've never met Attorney General Cameron?
No, we never met him. He never discussed anything with us.
Now, we have a couple of more clips of this, but before we go, I want to juxtapose what happened in Ferguson with Bob McCullough, who was the prosecuting attorney who convened the grand jury in the Michael Brown case. And in that case, it later came out that he intentionally put somebody up as a witness to the grand jury. These 2 jurors that we're listening to from this CBS interview, they were part of the grand jury, but Bob McCullough intentionally put somebody on the grand jury that he knew was lying. It came out that he knew that the woman that he put up in the Michael Brown grand jury trial against the officer's name escapes me, but he knew that woman was lying. And later on, they had to address it. But this just shows you the level to which these prosecutors, and in the Attorney General, in the case of Kentucky, the Attorney General of Kentucky, they actively participate in suppressing information or introducing false information to help police officers get off. Now, the jurors in this case, in the Breonna Taylor case, they went on to explain how the 911 call helped put the case together for them. Let's take a listen in.
The thing that stood out to me when I was talking to him, he said, why would I call 911 if I thought it was the police?
Mm-hmm. That resonated with me because he didn't know who it was that was coming in. You know, he had no idea. You could hear the distress. Everything about what he said was believable. Mm-hmm. It made sense all the way through.
You found him credible?
Yes.
Totally believable.
Did you find the police credible?
No.
No, there are too many inconsistencies in their story. Now I understand that, you know, in a situation like that, you may not remember, but I didn't find their testimony credible.
The jurors were critical of the police, going as far as to say it seemed as obvious to them that there was a cover-up done.
What was your understanding about what happened that night?
It was a mess. It didn't seem to me that there was any organization or almost any leadership in the whole operation.
From the evidence that I heard, this thing started out downhill to begin with. You don't need 7 cops to go up to somebody's door and knock on it and say, you know, we're here to do an investigation at 1 o'clock in the morning. It kept going downhill from there. It was one mistake right after the other one, right after the other one. They covered it up. That's what the evidence that I saw. And I felt like there should have been lots more charges on that. They covered it up.
So, Rebecca, when you said cover up, there is a long list. Darren Wilson was the name of the police officer. I'm so tired of having to recall and remember all these murderous police officers who killed black people. But Darren Wilson is the officer in Ferguson who killed Michael Brown, that Bob McCullough, who's the prosecutor. Damn it, we in this profession, we gotta be able to recall not only the police officer, but the prosecutor, the attorney general, who all work together, just like we saw in these last few clips. They all work together to make sure that the police officers are never held accountable for the murders that they commit. And hopefully, Attorney General Merrick Garland will actually delve into Daniel Cameron's active suppression of the facts in the case of Breonna Taylor. So, Rebecca, James, that was a lot. I just saw this yesterday. I didn't even see this when it came out in October, but I just saw it yesterday, and I'm glad that this is out again, considering that there is a federal investigation going to take place.
I hope they bury that man under the jail, because that makes no sense, dude. Daniel Cameron.
Yeah. And he thinks he can get away with it. Why black folks think they could get away with some of the same stuff white folks get away with? Because they're going to sacrifice that boy.
No, he thinks he's white because he's protected by, he has Mitch McConnell protection.
Yeah.
You know, during the whole time that we were mourning Breonna Taylor and trying to find some kind of justice, at least for her in that time. Remember what he went to go do? He was, you know, taking pictures with his then I don't know if it was a wedding or his fiance.
Yep.
But he had other business to cater to take care of, white business. So for him, you know, Mitch McConnell protects him. He thinks that the system is protecting him. He thinks that, you know, him going along with whatever they tell him to do, he's, you know, it's going to help him. It's going to benefit him in whatever position that he wants to run for next. And so right now, he doesn't know that he's being used as a pawn, or maybe he does and he's okay with that. But he is the black representation, and they want to, this is how they work. This is what we heard yesterday when we heard Lindsey Graham saying, ain't no racism here in the system of America. Just there's none. You know why? Because we have black people like Daniel Cameron who represent, you know, the other side of things, but he's black. I mean, and he sees things different, so it can't be racist. You know what I mean? So that's what I think Daniel Cameron's representation is in Kentucky, and for the people, you know, that are leaders there, and so that they can come out with that stupid behind rhetoric that's impossible, that there is no racism in America. But I see this and I think to myself, the fact that those officers were like, okay, he shot at us. You guys intruded into somebody's house. It was the wrong home at that. Intruded into somebody's home. He is protecting himself and his. And he shoots to see, he didn't know it was an officer. And I'm talking about Breonna Taylor's boyfriend.
Right.
He didn't know it was officers, but they shot back because automatically this has to be the home, right? This has to be the home that they said it was, where they are selling drugs or doing whatever. And it's a black man.
They had the wrong address.
Don't
forget they had the wrong damn
address. So this has to be the right home, though. We're not going to double check because we see a black man with a gun. Shoot back.
Yeah.
Shoot back. So it really.
If it was a white, you did this the other day, Rebecca. Remember, you said if you had been Ma'Khia Bryant and you had a gun, then you would have been was exercising his Second Amendment right in his home, and the assumption was he's got to be the drug dealer.
Daniel Cameron said literally that it was, in fact, the right thing to do for the officers. It was they had to shoot back and shoot that deadly shot. It was warranted. Excuse me?
Right.
Daniel Cameron don't realize it, but he's about to be he's gonna catch some obstruction of justice charges.
I hope so. I hope so, man. Yes. I really do.
Yeah, because he sat there. I knew it when I saw it. I knew it when I saw the press conference in real time. I did not have those jurors' testimonies yet, but I knew when I heard them. I said, this cat is making sure this officer gets off. These two officers get off. He inserted himself, used the office of the Attorney General. And thing is, like, quite frankly, he could get away with it. Matter of fact, not only could he not only get away with it, but he could be elected to replace Mitch McConnell in the U.S. Senate.
That's exactly what I believe that he wants to do. He wants to make sure he continues on the white path and not the right path, because that's going to benefit him. That's why I don't care what he says. And I'm talking about Mitch McConnell. Neither do I care what Daniel Cameron says. I'm not hurt. I'm disappointed. I sound like Umar, but I'm not hurt. I'm disappointed in what I see when I see Daniel Cameron, because that position,
could do so much good.
You could do so much good. The opportunities, the change that you can create with that. Like when I hear things like Mitch McConnell saying, I don't want anything to do with Donald Trump. That didn't affect me anyway. I didn't care that he said that, because we knew it was a lie. It was good for that day. Because what did he do? He changed the next day. He changed back to what he was. He's the same old racist representation out of Kentucky. Yeah. So Daniel Cameron he's grooming Daniel Cameron, especially, him being black. It definitely benefits, hey, I got a black friend. I got a black friend. I can't be racist. Right. Like, you cannot call me racist. You can't say that I don't appreciate or understand what the people are feeling when it comes to Breonna Taylor, because I have black representation, a black AG at that. Mm-hmm. So you can't say I don't understand and I wasn't giving it what it needed to have, but I did give it due process. So.
And I think the other thing, you have Charles Booker, who is running for, he's a black man, progressive, running for Senate. He ran against Mitch McConnell, or he ran in the primaries against another candidate who won the primaries. But Charles Booker did so much in terms of his campaign with so few dollars. Now he's running again, and he's running against Rand Paul, who's charges for obstruction of justice, and he gets away with this. You're going to see Daniel Cameron, a Republican black man who's doing the bidding of white supremacy, be put against Charles Booker, who is a progressive black man who's trying to fight against white supremacy. And in the state of Kentucky, with the help of Mitch McConnell, and the deeply rooted racism that still exists, not only in Kentucky, but all around the country, it's a good possibility that Daniel Cameron will not only get away with obstruction of justice, but he'll also go all the way to the Senate as a result of it. So we'll keep our eyes on this as the federal investigation takes place. We're going to take, I know we're coming close to the end, but let's take a quick break. James, give us some music. We're going to reset. We're going to come back with a couple of positive stories to leave out the public show, and then we'll take it to the after party.
Give us something nice.
Yeah.
Bubba.
Right.
More like it or not after this.
Time goes by and yet I wonder.
Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. We got more like it than that coming up, and make sure that you stay tuned and tune in for the after party coming up immediately after the main show ends, y'all. Good morning again, everyone. Paige Keaton, thank you for your super chat, Paige.
So I stay here and hold my heart when you walk out the door.
Right.
Set your mind free. No one knows what
we all just looking like
this is the end of me and you. Set your mind free. Made a promise to myself. This time I will keep it. When there's a will, yeah, there's a way. With every smile, with every tear, I know I will make it. I'm gonna see ya.
Dude, good morning. Purple Rain Hearts, good morning. Moon meat, good morning. Moon meat, terrible. Good morning, y'all. Good morning.
Time goes by and yet I wonder, why do we put each other through hell? Why can't we just get over ourselves? I know we should. You cast your spell and now and under. I know the laughter and the pain. Will I ever love again? I don't know if I can.
Why my mama just text me talking about am I mad with her? Didn't I not say good morning, mama? And good morning, sensation? Ooh, Gwen, don't you do that. You better drop in this chat and talk to me, woman. Good morning, Gwen. Again. Say your full name next time. Don't do me. Good morning.
Set your mind free.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you. Barbara, my pleasure as well, Barbara. Good morning. Daniel, real soon, Daniel, I just thought about something this morning that I might be able to do something. Aurora, I know, right? Justice, good morning. All right, y'all, welcome back. Rebecca and Ben. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Why are you guys so thrown off by the look? Today is like we don't know what's happening. Like we were thrown off by the transition. We're not getting the transition words correct today.
Yeah,
we gotta practice.
I know what it is. Right, what it is Rebecca came in here like not poetic justice, but Rhythm Nation ready to fight with the earrings on.
It is. Anytime that I wear like my leather hat or whatever, and y'all know I love my big earrings, but anytime I do that, it just gives that automatically. And I ain't mad at it, because that was a real cute moment for Janet. But
right.
Yes. Yeah, and I came ready, because my hair wasn't ready. So, I came ready. The hair wasn't ready, but she had to do what had to be done. But like circling back to, we got our good aunties on the scene, like, Maxine Waters, and we got our good uncles on the scene. I don't know if I would say that, but for some, Steve Harvey. We got our zaddies on the scene, like Ron Isley. And for another good uncle that we could say that's on the scene is beloved actor, director, and I don't know why he said great uncle, but he's a beloved actor, director, and uncle. Unc. You know what I'm saying? LeVar Burton was on Monday's episode of The View, where he was asked about the so-called cancel culture. Let's take a look at his response.
In terms of cancel culture, I think it's misnamed. That's a misnomer. I think we have a consequence culture, and that consequences are finally encompassing everybody in the society, whereas they haven't been ever in this country. So I think that there are good signs that are happening in the culture right now, and I think it has everything to do with a new awareness on people who were simply unaware of the real nature of life in this country for people who have been othered since this nation began.
He did.
He said a word.
He said it so calm.
He did, and I loved it. It was getting the reading rainbow vibe. I just live for it. But to repeat his answer, he said, quote, in terms of cancel culture, I think it's misnamed. I think we have a consequence culture, and consequences are finally encompassing everybody. So everybody, ain't above the law. It's accountability is what we're talking about here. And I absolutely love that it's coming from him. Right? Yeah. This is a man that could have been forgotten, and we done resurrected his whole history and said, here's your flowers. Too many people are dying, and we're not giving them their flowers until they fast. Here are your flowers. Let's get you on whatever we can. We can see that, he wasn't ready for what's happening. Look at his background. He wasn't ready for the interviews that have been coming his way. You know what I mean? So, but I absolutely love
that man's back. Put the background back on the screen. I didn't see anything. Let me see.
He wasn't ready. He's been in his home chilling, not worried about nothing. Just being who he is. Not having to do backgrounds for interviews, Nathan. But
he get ready for Jeopardy. That's what he's been
living his life as a normal person, But honestly, though, I really appreciate LeVar for saying something so simple but so strong, and knowing that he's getting all the attention and everybody's listening, and
But you know what's going to happen
just
now.
Jumping on any word that he says, there, he's careful with his wording, but it doesn't seem like he's being just for TV about it. This is actually how he feels. It's genuine.
What's going to happen now is that because he said this, you're going to have people, you're going to have Republicans, conservatives, white folks, conservatives. So it's just ironic. Like Republicans and conservatives are always afraid of cancel culture, but they're quick to be the first ones to try to boycott Coca-Cola because they're trying to help fight back against the voter suppression laws here in Georgia. So the backlash that he's going to get from this is going to be very interesting, especially in light of the fact that he's trying to be the host of Jeopardy, which I think Jeopardy, if they had any sense, they would go ahead and get him because he is beloved. And I called him great uncle just because it's just, I knew Jordy when he was young. See, I messed up. Not Jordy. I knew LeVar Burton when he was Geordie LaForge. I knew him when he didn't have he barely had any facial hair. Now he's got all this facial hair and it's all white. So, I just feel like we're all getting so.
It's nice, but he's giving uncle vibes. He's still at the uncle range,
So then what is Ron Isley would be the great uncle then?
He's grand zaddy. He's grand zaddy. He's
great grand zaddy. I give him zaddy, but he's still a great grand zaddy.
No, he's grand zaddy.
He's grand zaddy. He ain't great. He
ain't great.
Zaddy.
Okay.
He had that picture ready.
I love you, Dwayne, because I needed to see it. I was in my head trying to help Ben understand. But you had grand zaddy.
I said he was zaddy. I said he was a zaddy. I'm just saying
grand.
He was moving more like a great grand zaddy. But he was moving like grand
zaddy. He was moving like my daddy be moving.
Great. Zaddy too.
Jesus Christ, how old are y'all grandparents? Good.
Well, I got you, Rebecca. Morgan Freeman era.
Now,
like, that's
now
great.
we're
That's
talking.
Great, Granddaddy.
Now we're talking great. That man been old ever since I knew him.
I got
I bet
another
you
one.
money.
James Earl Jones.
I bet you money. I bet you money. They're either the same age or older, or younger than Ron Isley. Bet you money. Let's go. I will search it real quick.
Honestly, but we know the granddaddy vibes is what Ron is giving. You know, preserved.
Yeah.
New teeth. Who this? Like, come on.
Give with they new teeth.
Talk about he got the whole set.
He got the whole set. They are. He got those crowns all over. Pull back up. I guess we probably can't do pull him up next to. But Levar's got the aspirational beard there, like your boy Ron Isley got the full. Pull back up Levar because he's got the aspirational beard. He's like because maybe a couple of months out from having that full white beard.
What's happening is the wisdom of all the goodness of his heart is bleeding, giving him the full. It's like he didn't even need to do much. It just was like, listen, we're gonna give you that nice touch. And he still has his hair. He's looking good, you know. And what I love about him, like I said, when you have a pure heart, and even if he's had anything in his life that maybe he's done wrong, I love that he had a moment in the public, and he had a moment to just sit down and deal with himself or whatever, without the public trying to cancel him, because we know they would have scooped, dug up, found, and made new his issue. Look at that. You see, you have your uncle here, and you have your granddaddy here.
And
you can see the difference here. You definitely can.
He just need like about 6 more months on that beard and throw on a chinchilla and some shades, and he got the beard game going on though. He's just a few years.
He got the teeth too. It look like he's just preserved.
Okay.
He's just preserved.
That's when you're right. When you don't have evil in your heart, when you're not just an evil, bitter person, you grow old gracefully.
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
Exactly.
When they say black don't crack, that ain't for everybody now.
Because some
for everybody now. Some people are cracking at the age of 30, looking like, looking like they 70. No, nothing against nobody who's 70. But what I'm saying is you will age. God will age you. He will take you to the end of your life before you even got there when you nasty. When you nasty,
y'all
and you
already
rude.
know who has not aged and she looked the same. Angela goddamn Bassett.
Oh, Angela Bassett, yeah.
Because
Angela
she eats right. And I'm trying to she was like,
Yes,
she don't
Lord.
eat XYZ. She's like, I don't eat anything, but I eat this. And it's like, girl, what is that? You eat air, sweetie.
She absolutely looks like she looks
auntie,
today like when she was still getting her groove back. Yeah.
She is preserved. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. But yes. So, since we're in Atlanta, it would be a disservice if we didn't discuss this for the culture.
Oh, yes.
So over the weekend, the artists Young Thug and Gunna, those are rappers, artists, and they're sensitive about their. So over the weekend, the artists Young Thug and Gunna paid the bail of 30 people who were locked in Fulton County jails on minor charges and couldn't afford bail on their own. Here's a clip from a local television station with a brief interview with Young Thug.
But they aren't just using their fame and fortune to give back to their loved ones. In fact, on Friday afternoon,
we just woke up and went to the jail with the lawyer and, DAs and on the prosecutors and, the bonding companies, and just got as many people as we can out, probably like 20 or 30 people.
the rapper's label YSL Records shared this exclusive video showing the moment dozens of Fulton County inmates were released from the county jail. Watch this.
I can't about that. It was the way he was like,
like a golden cockroach, but he did good here.
Oh my God.
And it's so crazy because what he did was really good. Mind you, I love me some Young Thug. I love Thug. Okay. So, but it was funny how the reporter was like, YSL Records, and he is, I'm like, okay, sir. It's funny when I hear like the white reporters be like talking about the rap artist, and they be on there like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I did my thing, you know what I'm saying? I just did whatever, That's the thought. And then like, well, how did it make you feel? Well, you know what I'm saying? I just do it for my community, you know what I'm saying? I just be like, you know what I'm saying? Just out here trying to do what I got to do for the community. We got to make sure everybody out of jail did what it is. But anywho, shout out to them. They're doing such a good thing because we know how that bail system is wrapped in BS and meant to keep people inside. knowing that they can't afford to come out, and that to them is some way of reprimand for you being poor. Like, that's how I feel. You can't afford to get out, you're going to stay in there, and we're going to make you stay in there way longer than you should have for stealing some, like a can of soda from the store, like things like that. So shouts out to Young Thug for that. I really, I'm happy that Young Thug and Gunna partnered to do that, and I hope that other rappers, see this and are encouraged to do the same. And some are probably doing the same and just haven't gotten the exploitation on local news about it. But it's right. I'm happy that they are doing that.
That's one of the main reasons we got to end cash bail, man, because cash bail is set up specifically to keep poor people in jail while they await trial, because every person that they have in jail, no matter what the circumstances, whether they're in prison for a long stint or whether in jail waiting for a trial, those are funds and resources that are given to the police departments. That like those bodies in beds is how they make their money. And so they have incentives to make sure that people just sit in jail, especially if you just can't afford to pay the bail. Meanwhile, the real criminals are running free on Wall Street. But that was a good look, man. And there's
on Wall Street, in the streets, Kyle, Rittenhouse, they out here just running.
And the thing with Kyle, you had all those Christian organizations raise that man millions of dollars to pay his bail. Right.
Wow. But that's why
their commitment.
Thugga and Gunna, I feel like it's such a great thing to see, because we had them Christian white folks out here getting murderers out. You got Thugga and you got Gunna just out here making sure that people on petty crimes are just stuck in jail for whatever reason. Make sure let's get them out. Let's get them out. Let's make sure that we do the same thing that they're doing for criminals out there. And I'm talking about real, true murderers and criminals. Them white folks, we're going to take care of our own. This is why I say it's important when we take care of our own. When we say Black Lives Matter, this is what we mean. We got to take care of our own, because y'all ain't looking out for us at all. So we got to take care of our own, period.
Yeah. Yep. That's that on that. Let's take it to the after party.
Take it to the after party. Love you guys. Mean it.
Take it to the after party. Join us
there. Oh wait, we had a couple super chats. Let's read those real quick before we. Hang on, let me see. You got them handy, James?
I'm pulling them up now too.
We got them in the Slack. We want to make sure we recognize that. And while we pull those up, go to I keep saying likeItOrNot.com. We couldn't get that. That was a grip. But go to patreon.com/likeItOrNot to get access to the after party and to get access to ad-free versions of the show. If you're listening to the podcast version, you can get twice the content without any of the commercials by going to patreon.com/likeItOrNot. You got them for us, James?
Yes, I do. Captain Jackers, thank you so much. Love the show. Bring the news and the beat. Splendid every time. And Laura Estrada, we thank you too. And Paige Keaton, I got you earlier, but thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank y'all so much for that support. All right, let's get to the after party, y'all.
Oh, look, see, I thought that we were going. I love you guys. Mean it, y'all. Make sure you become a patron. We out of here.
Right.
I didn't know y'all.
You're always on the run, what up? I mean, don't get me wrong, but what up? Or was I not the one you dreamt of? No.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in, y'all. We will see y'all in the morning. Like it or not, y'all. Here we go.
Just stop for a minute, just relax yourself. This moment will never come back again.
And my mama said I better not embarrass her on this show no more. She gonna beat my ever-loving ass. Hi, mama, I got you. What's up? Pull up, shawty. Hey, she ain't gonna bite shit. Get her to help me fold up some clothes. That's all.